Imagine this. You've planned a burglary. Every detail is carefully thought out. The route, the timing, even a list of the things you plan to take. But there's one small detail that turns your bold plan into a scene from a comedy: sleep. Yes, today I'm going to tell you a story that proves sometimes a burglar's greatest enemy is their own exhaustion. This is the story of René Plaisir from Manchester, a man who became so relaxed after breaking into a house that he simply fell asleep at the crime scene. Stay until the end, because I'll explain why this story is a perfect example of how emotions and habits can destroy even the most carefully designed plan. Manchester, modern day. René Plaisir was not a professional criminal. He had no sophisticated scheme, no getaway team, and not even a clear list of targets. He simply decided to take advantage of an opportunity. A house had been left unlocked, everything inside was quiet, and the temptation was too great to resist. René slipped inside, looked around, and quickly found a few valuable items. But then something unexpected happened. Waiting for him in the kitchen was dinner, more specifically, a plate of fried chicken. Instead of leaving immediately before anyone noticed, René decided to have a snack. After all, hard work requires energy, right? And this is where the biggest weakness in his plan appeared. A full stomach combined with stress worked like a sleeping pill. After finishing the chicken, René began to feel his energy fading. Instead of gathering his loot and disappearing, he gave in to temptation and decided to rest for a moment, right there in the living room, as if it were his own house. But that wasn't all. Before making himself comfortable, he took off his shoes and left them near the entrance to the room. That tiny detail would later become the most important piece of evidence. The homeowner returned the next morning. At first, nothing seemed unusual. Then he noticed a pair of unfamiliar shoes by the doorway. His heart immediately sank. Someone had been inside his house. Carefully, he looked into the living room. What he saw was probably the last thing he expected. A complete stranger was peacefully sleeping on his couch. René was sleeping so deeply that he didn't even hear the homeowner enter the room. There was no panic, no dramatic escape, just a peaceful nap after a night of criminal activity. From that point, events unfolded almost like a movie. The homeowner decided not to take any risks and immediately called the police. Officers arrived quickly, and it was up to them to wake René. Imagine the scene. A sleepy and confused man suddenly realizing he had not been caught during the burglary itself. He had been caught while taking a nap. For the police officers, it was almost comical. For René, it was a serious problem. What made the story even more amusing was that he did not try to resist arrest or invent elaborate excuses. He simply could not believe everything had fallen apart because he decided to get some sleep. This story could have remained nothing more than a funny anecdote, if not for one important lesson. It perfectly demonstrates how the human factor can destroy even the best plans. In criminology and systems analysis, this is sometimes described as a failure caused by unaccounted human behavior. A plan may include routes, schedules, backup options, and contingencies, but it can still fail because of something simple like fatigue, hunger, or the desire to sit down and rest for a moment. Very often, it is these small and seemingly insignificant factors that cause the biggest failures. The story of René Plaisir is not just a joke about an unlucky thief. It is a reminder that every plan, whether it involves business, technology, personal goals, or anything else, must account for human behavior. Even when everything appears to be under control, there is always room for the human factor. And sometimes, that factor is the most unpredictable part of all. If you enjoyed this story, be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment telling me about the most ridiculous failure you have ever heard of, whether from real life, a movie, or even a work project. Maybe we'll cover your story in the next video.